There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Getting more out of life, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Jo Stanley, here with my great friend Luke Hines. It's lovely to see you.
It is so wonderful to be here, Jo. I'm keeping the seat warm for Darcy, who's on a well-deserved post-Olympic Games break. Now, I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I am really missing the Olympics on TV, Jo, after that huge injection of world-class sport.
Yes, I know. I'm lucky because I've got the footy to keep me going. I love that. I do remember, though, you know how funny it was when you were watching the Olympics, how you become just armchair experts, like you're watching the diving. You go, oh, too much splash. Like, I can't even dive. I can barely swim.
There was one night I was eating a pizza on the couch, critiquing someone's performance with their incredible physique. I mean, go figure.
That's right, exactly right.
Now, you got to love a global sporting event in pulling the world together, Jo. And on the global theme, there's an international push in major cities for people to adopt happier, healthier lifestyles and turn streets into much cooler places. Now, I'm not just talking about an influx of hipsters here. I'm talking about dropping city temperatures by making homes and cities greener.
As global temperatures rise, so does our reliance on electricity and air conditioners. So people are thinking outside the box when it comes to keeping cool.
Scientists have developed a paint so white, hear this, Jo, that it reflects up to 98% of sunlight. They reckon it's more effective than aircon, and people in places like New York and Western India have actually been painting their roofs and houses with it.
And my favourite recent good news story is that the world's tiger population is on the rise. Isn't that... I just love this. The gorgeous animal isn't out of the woods yet, but conservation efforts have seen tiger numbers double and even triple in India and Nepal.
It shows what people can do when they come together with a common goal, Jo, and that goes for tackling plastic pollution too. A couple of weeks back, we talked about major supermarkets now accepting soft plastic waste for recycling.
The estimate is that Australians use a staggering 130 kilos of plastic per person each year. One of the biggest offenders is cling wrap. Now, one Aussie couple has come up with a green alternative that hopes to banish plastic waste to history's rubbish bin for good.
Until a couple of years ago, Mornington Peninsula husband and wife, Geordie and Julia Kay, were on two very different career paths.
So Julia is an architect and I'm a winemaker, but I think in both of our industries, we were working really hard to have a pretty low environmental footprint. I was farming organically and making wines naturally, so not using any sort of preservatives or chemicals in the winemaking process, and Julia was designing these sort of beautiful, low carbon embodied footprint buildings.
Despite their best environmental efforts, there was one harmful material that remained essential to Geordie and Julia's industries.
I was sort of putting so much energy into the practices I was using, and ultimately you create this beautiful product when you're making wine, and sort of at the last stage of the process, you're wrapping your pallets in plastic pallet wrap, and Julia was using these incredible materials that would show up on the back of a truck to a construction site wrapped in plastic. Like, it just seems like a bizarre and stupid system. Like, if you're an alien watching from another planet, you'd watch this and just go, what are they doing?
Australia puts 150,000 tonnes of stretch wrap and pallet wrap in landfill every year. And we just said, like, imagine if that plastic just disappeared.
Rather than just imagining it, in 2020, Geordie and Julia left their industries behind to launch the world's first certified compostable cling wrap. And the key ingredient might surprise you.
So currently we work with a company, it's a US company that takes potato waste from making things sort of like potato chips and hash browns. And that goes through a series of processes where it takes the waste through sort of filtration and tanks and fermentation, and the output is little pellets that look and feel exactly like plastic, except for all it is potato waste.
And so we mix that up and then put that into our extruder, which kind of heats those pellets up makes it into like a honey-like texture, which then gets squished down into a film and rolled onto a roll, and that's how cling wrap's made. So Great Wrap is pretty much exactly like conventional cling wrap, apart from the fact that at its end of use, you can walk out into your backyard and throw it in your compost bin and it will leave nothing behind, which is pretty awesome, which you can then use to go and like plant your beautiful veggie garden and do things like that. The other great thing is that it's made from food waste as well, so it's kind of like this closed circle.
Before the launch of Great Wrap, the most sustainable option available was biodegradable cling wrap. And while this might sound positive, it's not nearly as eco-friendly as it seems.
Essentially, biodegradable as a term means that it's still made from petroleum plastic. It has an organic additive so that when it's exposed to sunlight and moisture, it'll break down at a really rapid rate, which is fantastic. But the problem is that it breaks down into just tiny little bits of plastic rather than completely disappear. I think it's why it's really important in Australia that we're actually starting to phase out those products. Simply by having a compostable cling wrap in your kitchen, like Great Wrap, really highlights something much bigger. And we want people to kind of talk about the importance of composting and sort of the culture that we can build around that in Australia, because there's a whole bunch of other products there that really can only be solved by some sort of single-use compostable alternative.
Through online sales, Geordie and Julia have already prevented over 1 million metres of plastic from entering landfill, catching the attention of many big businesses.
It feels amazing to see the reaction that we've seen from supermarkets. Like, they're very excited to get a product like this, which is just, for us, you know, you relax a little bit about the future when you see moves like this happening. I don't think cling wrap is where we end, obviously. We've got a huge vision for the amount of products we plan to release in the years coming. But I think we are really excited to continue to develop our formula just so that we're optimising like waste as an opportunity rather than a problem.
We've covered some fantastic plastic alternatives in earlier shows, Joe. Things like beeswax wraps and silicone covers, or you could simply raid your parents' Tupperware cupboards.
Parents, what are you talking about? It's my Tupperware and I love my Tupperware collection. I'm a big fan of glass jars and bowls with lids as well. And there's some really nifty purpose-built food storage these days to keep avocados, lemons and even onions fresh in the fridge. Now, moving out of the kitchen and into the world of colour and how it impacts our lives. Turns out pink keeps us calm, Hinesy. Did you know that?
I always thought the calm colour was all about blues. They were soothing and pink was more about youthfulness.
What about some kind of yellowy, browny leaf fabric? Does that make you feel calm?
Hawaiian gold. I'm not quite sure where that sits on the scale of things.
Nausea is the unpleasant feeling of sickness that often precedes vomiting. When this happens during pregnancy, it can be particularly unpleasant. And frustratingly, we don't know why this happens. One theory is that low blood sugar levels on waking cause lightheadedness, which in turn cause the nausea. So a simple snack before getting out of bed in the morning is worth considering. Morning sickness can persist for months, so regular dosing of ginger and B6 will offset this ongoing nausea. Bloating or abdominal distension can be particularly uncomfortable. If there's any good news, we can treat the underlying causes. We're talking here about gas that gets formed as part of digestion and forces its way down into the intestines. Food intolerances, constipation, sometimes diarrhoea can occur because of these issues. The important thing here is to think about digestion. So eating more slowly, chewing your food well, can make a very, very simple difference. But sometimes digestive enzymes are needed to ensure efficient digestion. Vertigo is an illusion that either the environment or our own body is moving. Severe and persistent vertigo can cause an unexpected fall, and that can be life-changing. Motion sickness, fear of heights, anxiety, sometimes medications can be underlying triggers for vertigo. Persistent vertigo, though, may involve the balancing mechanisms inside our inner ear. It's important to recognise the triggers because vertigo can come on quite quickly. In the herbal world, the one of choice is GINKGO biloba, a specific extract called EGB 761. Not a catchy name, but it's worth writing down because it is very useful. And if symptoms persist, seek the advice of your health professional. They'll give you the best advice. But most importantly, be well, live well, stay well.
Heinzie, I reckon one of the best ways to get an instant pick-me-up that costs nothing is to put more colour in our lives, don't you reckon?
Totally. I have all different coloured runners, and when I go for a jog to brighten up my day, I pick a different colour.
Oh, I like that. I love a bright red lipstick, a little pop, particularly in winter when it's a very grey. I'm going to introduce a term to you.
OK.
Dopamine dressing.
Dopamine dressing.
I read about it. Apparently, you wear something bright or something that has a lovely memory or texture that makes you feel great. Dopamine dressing. Don't know if there's any science to it whatsoever.
I'm going to try
really
it.
Like
I'm definitely going to try it.
Yes. So tell me, Heinzie, what is your favourite colour and why?
I love yellow, Joe. For me, it represents the sun, energy, a new day, bright energy, all of that type of stuff keeps me going every day. So if I put on yellow shoes or a yellow hat, I feel awesome.
I love that. Well, red is typically associated with love and sensuality or danger, and blue with feeling calm or sad. So have we been conditioned to make these links, or is there actual science behind our colour connections? We asked an expert in social behaviour for the answers. Can you tell us, why do people have personal preferences when it comes to colour?
Part of it is based upon the different experiences that they may have had through their own life. They may have been complimented upon a particular colour, starts to then reinforce a particular liking or preference for a certain colour. But there's also some really interesting things that transcend your own individual personal preferences, things that are baked into who we are as individuals based upon evolutionary and biological processes that instead start to inform our type of response at a more psychological level as well.
When you say baked in, do you mean culturally the significance of a colour?
Partly that. So there are some certain cultural signifiers that are attached to colour. But there's also some deeper biological things there as well. So in terms of the cultural factors, we might look at a certain colour, let's go orange, and depending upon where we are around the world, that's going to have different types of meanings. If I am in Northern Ireland, orange starts to represent Protestantism, and so it can start to give rise to that broader sectarian potential conflict between Protestants and Catholics that were really associated with Northern Ireland. If we're in the Netherlands, it's a national colour. So if you look at orange, it's a colour of national pride and identity. In Hinduism, orange is a really sacred colour. In Buddhism, orange is the colour of the robes of monks and is a way of demonstration of their renouncing of the material world around them. So all of those things are different cultural expressions, cultural manifestations of the colour orange. Depending upon where you are, will then start to determine the meaning attached to orange.
For me, orange it kind of represents healthy, outdoor living, beautiful orange juice and fruit. It makes me feel like it's a really kind of healthy colour.
Absolutely. And possibly that's because of the association between orange and sun. We start to have an association between orange and the actual orange itself of a fruit. And so all of those things can also give rise to certain meanings around a colour like orange.
But it can be true that you have an emotional reaction to a colour because of a memory or an association.
Absolutely. So certain types of responses that a person could have might be based upon those past experiences with a certain colour. I'm thinking of certain shades of yellow. If you're sitting in a bathtub and you've had those wonderful experiences with your mum or dad as a kid with the little duckies that come through, those colours of yellow might actually give rise to a sense of peace and of wellness and of fulfilment. And that would be a very individual response based upon those past experiences.
Or school uniforms.
Or school uniforms.
That colours that we were forced to wear in primary school, we may not wish to wear in our adult life.
Most definitely. Certainly in high school, I had a certain maroon colour for my school uniform. I don't love it. I would be certainly trying to back away from that colour wherever I could. It probably doesn't match all that well with my skin colour and my hair colouring either, but the associations you have will often be fairly formative and might mean that you, as a result, are less likely to want to wear that type of colour into the future.
What about the gendered colours, pink and blue, and how we sort of seem to have been raised to wear one or the other? Does that impact on our choices?
Pink is a really interesting colour. If we were to go back to the pre-World War II period, there wasn't such a strong association between the colour pink and femininity. It was only in the post-World War II period when we had Mamie Eisenhower, the wife of Dwight Eisenhower, the former US president, in the early 50s. She was really known for wearing pink dresses. For her, that was something, a colour that really resonated for her, drew out her features. She was also someone that was really looked up to, though, as a style icon, someone that was one of the best 10 dressed women each year, every single year for the Eisenhower presidency. And so as a result of that, it started to be this confluence of this is a certain type of femininity, this is a certain colour that she was popularising, those two things coming together, being picked up by broader cultural trends and movies and other types of things, as a result of which, in the second half of the 20th century, pink now equals femininity.
So now that seems to have been taken into advertising.
Yeah.
What are the significance of the colours that people use in advertising?
Advertising is all about trying to have particular associations with a brand. And colour is often a really important component of those brand identifiers. A great example would be Tiffany blue, that really eggshell blue colour that is associated with Tiffany's. If I was to present that colour to someone, people would go, that represents sophistication. Now, the reason why that association has come about is because of a huge amount of advertising over 100, 150 odd years, really trying to build up that association between a certain shade of blue and then a certain type of outcome. And that's broadly speaking what advertisers are trying to do. They'll have certain colours associated with their brand and they try to imbue it with meaning so that we as consumers can look at those and start feeling particular emotions that the companies are wanting us to feel.
Why do colours make us feel emotions?
There's a number of reasons why. I think that the strongest research is around the colour red. Red in nature is a warning signal. When we see red toadstools, when we see red-backed spiders, it's typically a signifier of poison. And so we start to have that representation that red equals warning, red equals danger. Red, though, is really complicated because there's some other things that it can also start to do. If I'm wearing red, as a type of clothing, I'm going to feel more powerful, more dominant as a result of wearing the colour red. There's been some great research looking at the Olympic Games and for certain combative sports, and research has found that those that have worn the colour red are much more likely to win their fights. Red has a huge number of potential meanings, many of which have a biological basis to it, and it just comes down to the context as to which of those meanings give rise to that certain type of response. Colour is really important for identity formation. If we talk about and look at the meanings that are ascribed to colour and start to then see how that maps onto certain types of social groups or political groups, we see that for footy colours, they're wearing those colours with pride as a way to say, this is my family, this is the group of people that I actually aspire to belong to or that I feel really comfortable with. So in that way, colour is almost like the type of plumage that are worn by birds. It's a way of demonstrating, this is my group, this is my tribe. Other people out there with those other different colours, they're not part of us. And so it can be very important for identity formation and signalling that to other people as well.
What interests me, Joe, is the link between colour and taste. It's been proven that people prefer that the colour of food matches the flavour. So orange food should taste like oranges and red food like strawberries or cherries.
Yeah, but a lot of food, especially processed food, is actually grey, so it's coloured to make it look more appetising. Added colours offer no nutritional value. They're just like cosmetics for food. It's a bit gross to think about, isn't it?
Well, I reckon if processed and refined food actually came grey, we'd be eating a whole lot less of it.
It's so true.
It's a good deterrent.
It's a very good deterrent. They should do that. There's something in that. Welcome back. Spring is just a couple of weeks away, Heinzie, and after a brutal winter of especially cold, wet days here in Melbourne, I can't wait.
What is not to love about spring? Bring it on.
Oh, for millions of Aussies, the months of August and September don't represent so much the end of the big freeze, but the start of the big sneeze. We sniffed out some expert advice on managing hay fever.
So hay fever is what doctors call allergic rhinoconjunctivitis. So it's allergic disease of the nose and of the eyes, and it It's caused by an allergy to an environmental substance that's in the air. So most people, when they think of hay fever, think of seasonal hay fever that occurs just during the springtime grass pollen season. But people can actually get allergic rhinitis that occur all year round. Symptoms of a runny nose, an itchy nose, and then later on in the season a blocked nose, and also eye irritation, which for many is often the most disabling symptom because the eyes are itchy and tired and red and watery, and those things are they can be quite disabling symptoms. So hay fever is an allergy. Hay fever is very specific. So when it's due to pollen, it's due to often sensitisation or allergic reactivity to a family of pollens, and particularly in the southern parts of Australia, that's normally the temperate grass pollens, of which the most well-known is ryegrass pollen. But if you go to different parts of Australia, like in the north, it's different sorts of pollen. So up, say, in Brisbane or Alice Springs, it's often Bermuda or couchgrass pollen that's particularly associated with hay fever symptoms. The people who are most likely to get hay fever are those who have an allergic disposition, or those who are more likely to be allergic, and that's determined by their genetics and possibly by their early life environment. So about half of the population is fundamentally allergic, or doctors call it atopic, which means they're likely to make allergic antibodies. They're made to potentially defend against things in the environment which would not hurt us anyway if we didn't make an antibody to it. So they make allergic antibodies to things in the environment that are otherwise harmless, like grass pollens or dust mite or cat allergens. Hay fever often occurs in the teenage years. There's often what people call an allergic march. Often people really early in life have eczema, and then later in life, perhaps around 7, they often come on with asthma, and then hay fever will occur in the early teens and teenage years, although it can occur at any time in life. The other group of people who are often likely to get hay fever are people who come to Australia, particularly from Southeast Asia, and interestingly, often after about 3 years, they'll start to experience hay fever symptoms, having never experienced before where they grew up. So for mild hay fever, most people reach for an antihistamine, which is great treatment in stopping itchy eyes and a runny nose. But for the more severe symptoms, or symptoms that occur daily, which unfortunately many people who get hay fever do get, then the nasal sprays, which contain a corticosteroid medication, are probably better because they actually cause reduction of the nasal blockage and congestion that occurs, and they actually also are effective for eye symptoms. Also, for people who are quite severely affected, you can use both together, so that's oral antihistamines and nasal sprays containing steroids for really treatment of more severe hay fever symptoms. One of the main risk factors for thunderstorm asthma is hay fever. So if you have hay fever and you have any symptoms of asthma, if you ever have had asthma or you cough or wheeze, particularly if you wake at night with shortness of breath, even with hay fever, that's not just hay fever, that's asthma, and you need to see your doctor and get some asthma treatment prescribed. So you've got a plan in the event of thunderstorm asthma. If you have hay fever, you're twice as likely as the population to get asthma. And if you have asthma, you're 4 times as likely to have hay fever symptoms. So one of the things to keep people aware of thunderstorm asthma is the Pollen app, and they can download that, and that'll give you warnings, as will the Emergency Services app, around the risk of thunderstorm asthma. So if you know that that's happening, stay out of the storm, stay safe, stay inside, and to keep yourself safe.
Sneezing, an itchy and runny nose and feeling pretty ordinary are signs of not only hay fever, but of course the common cold. Now, I don't know how, but you rarely get a cold, Hinesy, and I really want to know what the secret is. Spill the beans. How do you keep your immunity up?
Well, if I hear anyone who has even the slightest sore throat or runny nose, I run a mile, Jo. So you just get your running shoes on and it's good for your cardio health as well. But I will say another little tool that I've got in my shed is garlic. Now, it used to be called Russian penicillin, and it was given to soldiers as medicine in World War II, Jo. The tiny bulb is an absolute powerhouse, and the root, see what I did there?
Did, yes.
So good health. Welcome back to the House of Wellness Kitchen. And GQ, can you believe winter is nearly behind us? I will not miss those cold mornings where it's really tough to get out of bed, or the lack of sunny days. But one thing I'm definitely taking into the next season is my flu-fighting winter warmer elixir, which I'm going to make you today.
You've certainly got the right idea, Hinesy. Our immune system operates, can be targeted by infection all year round. Did you know, Hinesy, that we can catch up to 2 to 4 common colds a year?
That's 2 to 4 more times than I'd personally like, GQ. And to keep that number down, I've actually made the hero ingredient of this dish, garlic. It's an antiseptic, antibacterial and antifungal agent which helps boost our immune system and may help our body fend off and destroy viruses.
We can also turn to supplements to support this process too. A formulation designed to help people who get sick often, to support their symptoms and hasten their recovery.
Fighting fit in no time, mate.
That's right, Heinzie. Thanks to a combination of immune-influencing mushrooms and my favourite herb, ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha is already a friend of the show. It's really powerful in Ayurvedic medicine.
And extracts or powders from this amazing shrub's roots and leaves can be used to hasten our body's stress recovery. That's why we call it an adaptogen.
Handy when your body is under immense stress fighting off germs and viruses, or if you're one of those people who finds themselves getting sick often or simply can't shake your cold symptoms.
It doesn't look like it'll be us, Heinzie, with all this information and your winter warmer on our side.
Cheers to spring, mate.
Good health.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Ethical Nutrients, evidence-based formulas meticulously crafted for real results.
Welcome back. Well, just as certain diets come in and out of fashion, so do foods on the really bad for you list. So, Heinzie, 20 years ago, the dirty F word was fat. And of course, these days, you mention sugar and you are at risk of copping a big spray about how bad it is.
Absolutely, Joe. It's got a bad reputation and for very good reason. Your body actually doesn't need it for energy. Plus, there's plenty of evidence that shows its effects on cardiovascular health, sleep and weight gain.
But it does taste so good. It's so addictive and I really love chocolate.
Well, the thing is, once you start eating sweet foods and processed and refined foods, it's actually quite addictive and it's hard to have an off switch. That's why once you start, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, but OK, so even if your intentions are good, it can be hard to ban sugar altogether. And the toss-up of eating loads of fruit, which has natural sugars, kind of always confuses me.
Yeah, look, just because you're not guzzling heaps of soft drinks or stuffing your face with donuts, it doesn't necessarily mean your diet is low in sugar, Joe. It is a master of disguise that can sneak its way in. I teamed up with podcaster Sarah Davidson to take on the ultimate challenge of making a deliciously sweet dessert minus the sugar. Sarah, you know I'm all about covering the good and the bad when it comes to the nutrition space, but it doesn't take an expert to know that there is one ingredient that consistently gets a bad rep, and that is sugar.
Luke, the World Health Organization actually recommends that sugar should only be part of 5% of your daily energy intake, which is about 6 teaspoons. But I would say a lot of people are having a lot more than that. I'm not even a sweet tooth, and I probably inch pretty close to that.
I'm totally with you, and we are not alone. And I think what complicates the situation is that it is a devious little carbohydrate. It sneaks itself into all sorts of foods, even the ones that I use in my books. Now, I am not demonising these foods at all. We should celebrate them because they provide so much nutritional value. What we should be avoiding is non-naturally occurring sugars, which we refer to as refined or free sugars.
I have definitely taken a very liberal interpretation of free sugars in my time. But those refined or free sugars, they're the kind of sugars that people add to their coffee or that are added to processed foods for taste or longer shelf life. But Luke, I've been promised a dessert today, which I'm very excited about, but I'm also really curious how you're going to take on this recipe that's really well known for added sugar.
Well, I'm all about keeping my promises, Sarah, and all it takes is a few simple swaps. Now, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, you know, swap this for that, but it is. It all comes down to using nutrient-dense real foods, and that's extra important when making a delicious chocolate mousse like this. And the only real sugar that I'm using in this recipe is in the form of maple syrup. Now, that's a substitute for caster sugar, which you'd typically see in a chocolate mousse recipe. But what I love about it, it's naturally occurring, it's packed with antioxidants, calcium and zinc, which are all health-benefiting ingredients.
But while you're being very honest and very transparent about all the different naturally occurring sugars in your recipe today, a lot of foods aren't as honest. Sugar is a master of disguise and can appear under a multitude of different names on your nutritional labels, things like dextrose, fructose, maltose, or the oses.
What about blendose? It's not just our food choices either, Sarah. Sugar can find its way into our supplements too, particularly gummies. Now, they're known as a tasty, easy alternative for those who want to supplement nutrients in their diet but aren't a fan of taking tablets or capsules.
These supplements may not declare the presence of sugar or artificial sweeteners, so you may think you're doing the right thing by supplementing your body without knowing the full picture.
One brand who's changing this trend, Sarah, is Swiss, who have developed a new adult gummies range with nothing to hide.
Exactly, Luke. Swiss have a comprehensive range of formulas that are 99% sugar-free, contain no artificial sweeteners or flavours, and are a delicious way to support your health and well-being.
And like desserts, taste is an element that cannot be compromised on.
Absolutely. I'm really trying not to make compromises in my life at the moment. Another thing I won't compromise on is my beauty regime. From the new range, I love the Collagen Glow Gummies because they contain nutrients like vitamin C, collagen peptides and grapeseed for supporting healthy glowing skin from within and promoting skin elasticity and firmness.
Oof, I am so into looking after our skin. I love collagen. Another from the new range is the Magnesium Gummies, which can help maintain healthy muscle function, supports muscle relaxation and can reduce muscle spasms and cramps, and is perfect for those whose magnesium intake might be inadequate.
I think people are really starting to care a lot more about what goes into their products, so Swiss are really leading the way on that.
And I think we've really proven today, Sarah, that going cold turkey on sugar isn't the answer. It's all about moderation being the key, and utilising real food, a few simple swaps, means that you never go without dessert.
Well, I mean, you're already sweet enough.
Oh, watch out. Just wait till you try this, though.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, I'm Jade Kisnorbo and welcome to my world of beauty. From the latest trends in skincare and makeup to creating a look that's just right for you, I've got the tips and tricks to make you look and feel great from the inside out. Ross, we are both in the beauty industry and makeup is our love and passion. However, it's really important to cleanse and remove that makeup and the dirt and all the pollutants that have got on our skin throughout the day.
Absolutely, Jade. But what I look for most in a cleanser is something that's fragrance-free, non-irritating, and something that's been designed by dermatologists to promote a healthy skin barrier.
And I think with cleansers, they don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be lots and lots of products that we're putting on our skin. And a brand that I've always looked at and gone to is CeraVe. For that very reason, it's accessible and affordable.
Yeah, and there's two cleansers that work particularly well. One being the CeraVe SA Smoothing Cleanser and the other, the CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser. Both of them are packed with 3 essential ceramides. Yes, please.
Yes. CeraVe as a brand overall are about having healthy, fresh skin for everyone, and I love that.
So what I've got here, Jade, is the CeraVe SA Smoothing Cleanser, and this is a gentle exfoliating cleanser, and ideal for someone like me that's got dry, red, rough, bumpy skin texture.
Now, I love a good exfoliator. It's a deeper level of clean, but without the physical exfoliants that aggravate that skin type.
Absolutely, and all the work from this cleanser comes from the key feature, salicylic acid. Now, that's a form of beta-hydroxy acid, which sounds intimidating, but what it does, it reveals fresh, healthier-looking skin. It does this by penetrating the pores and loosening up those dead skin cells and sebum, which are oils.
And it's that natural turnover of skin cells that assist the skin in feeling smooth, fresh and clean. So the other nutrients that are in CeraVe SA Smoothing Cleanser are vitamin B3. There's also ceramides, which help moisturise, strengthen and maintain the skin barrier. And of course, hyaluronic acid, which helps hydrate bumpy or rough skin. And now if you've got normal to dry skin, CeraVe have the amazing hydrating cleanser, which works so well, not just on your face, on your body. But I love that they've thought of the body also.
Absolutely, and that's what I love about the CeraVe range. They've got so many multitasking products. And what's great about this cleanser, not only is it good for cleansing and refreshing the skin, but it's also good for hydrating and nourishing the skin too.
Ross, when picking a cleanser, you need to understand your skin type. Lucky for me, I understand mine. It's dry, it needs hydration, so I'm always going to be the hydrating cleanser.
I am with you with the hydrating cleanser. This is my holy grail. I use it all the time. However, if I've got something special coming up or, you know, maybe... Treat myself once every couple of weeks, I jump on board the smoothing cleanser.
You're right, Ross. It's time for me to treat myself. Now, give me that.
Won't regret it.
Give it to me. I thought you were going to pull it back.
We started the show by looking at how global cities are greening up their streets in an effort to cool things down and combat climate change. Well, Hinesy, there's another incredible story about the power of trees that touched us both this week.
Yeah, Joe, this is huge. Back in 1945, when a devastating A-bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, amazingly 170 trees survived. Now they're known as A-bomb trees or survivor trees in English. And for the past 10 years, seedlings from these trees have been sent around the world in a message of peace and hope.
One of the species of tree that survived was the GINKGO biloba. It's an ancient tree that's often used in traditional Chinese medicine. And as the master of herbs, Gerald quickly discovered, ginkgo is also proving to be a miracle of modern health. One of the most familiar terms in the health space is antioxidants, and we know it's a positive for our bodies. But few of us actually know how they work their magic.
Antioxidants are molecules that are used to offset free radicals which are generated in our body. Now, free radicals can occur because of the oxidative processes in our body, but also in the 24-hour society in which we live, as well as environmental factors. Oxidative stress can be a factor in the development of many chronic issues, things like ageing, skin conditions, gastrointestinal disorders, and that's why it's important that we maintain a level of antioxidant activity in our body to offset oxidative stress. Herbal antioxidants play an important role in ensuring that our antioxidant requirements are met each day. The ginkgo biloba tree, called the survivor tree, a living fossil because it's been here on the earth for over 150 million years. It's deciduous, as you can see, but the leaves contain the phytochemicals which supply us with the antioxidants. Despite its seemingly ageless existence, we've only got to know the benefits of ginkgo in the last 60 years as far as herbal medicine is concerned. Ginkgo can assist with memory recall, cognitive performance, especially in older adults. It can also help with blood circulation into peripheral areas like legs, feet, and hands. And as well, it brings general antioxidant benefits for all ages to enhance our health and well-being.
As well as assisting our brains and our bodies, plant antioxidants can play a role in our vision. But with this herb, appearances can be deceiving.
Bilberries are very close relatives of blueberries. In fact, they both share a similar botanical name. The appearance between bilberries and blueberries is also alike because they both share the same deep blue-purple colour, and that's the antioxidant activity content. Bilberries are important for eye health and maintaining healthy eye function based on our lifestyle and particularly our very heavy use of screens. The plant world actually is underrated. It is so fundamentally clean and healthy. And as time goes by, we're learning more and more and more about the powerful activities that the plant world brings us. Thankfully, both ginkgo and bilberry are available in a convenient once or twice a day supplement form, which is an easy way to make sure we're getting sufficient levels of antioxidants.
Last time we talked about our poor pets that are completely confused, Hinesy, by having us around all the time to suddenly not being there as much as lots of people went back to work post-lockdown. But how would it be if you could take them on a holiday, not in the car, but on a flight?
No. What? What?
Yes, there is talk of airlines allowing passengers to travel with their pets.
No, it's not an April Fool's joke, is it? Like, I don't know what to think of this. Like, I'm getting a little bit excited because I love having my dogs with me, but what if they need to, you know, find a pole when nature calls? They can't exactly tell you, Joe,
Oh, look, I'm not making it up. Qantas and Jetstar have ruled it out. It still leaves Virgin, though, so there's a chance.
Oh, look, I love my dogs, but I'm just thinking about all the potential issues that might happen. I mean, other passengers might have allergies. I mean, simply securing the dog in the seat. I can't actually imagine Kira or Chia sitting there or sitting still. How do you reckon Daisy would go?
We both have Labradors of a version, right? And so we both know that they love food.
Yeah.
And if there was someone next to us eating, Daisy would jump a seat to get to it. So no, not great. I think it would take more than a seatbelt to hold her back in that situation.
As much as we love them, perhaps the cargo hold is where they belong.
I think it's much wiser, particularly for our dogs. But that's it for today's show. If you'd like more, then you can always tune into the House of Honest radio show with me and Gerald Quigley on Sunday. And the exciting thing is, Hinesy, that Series 2 of our podcast, Best of You, has launched with Dr. Jamie Lee, who is a medical doctor and performance expert. It's all about finding ways to bring the best versions of ourselves, even in life's most challenging times. And you can find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Or head to our website for more information and extra tips on anything we've covered today.
And as always, thanks to our friends at Chemist Warehouse. And until next time, stay safe, be happy and keep well.
Feeling so strong.